Next question. What do you think of Toru from Fruits Basket? Hang on. I gotta check the character list for Fruits Basket really quick because I'm not really sure who Toru is. I've watched Fruits Basket. I think Toru is the main chick, isn't she? I'm just double checking because I don't want to be wrong and be really stupid. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, Toru's the main chick. What are my thoughts on her? She is bland. I'm sorry, but she is. Like, it's really hard to argue against it. She really is a self-insert character. She doesn't really have much of a personality. She just kind of has these guys and they kind of do things. I mean, she's kind of nice, I guess. But otherwise, she's pretty much a self-insert character. She doesn't have all that much of a personality. You know, whatever. That's generally how most shoujo or shoujo and otome games work. They, self-insert. It's the same with Gouch too. Self-insert male character also. But yeah, she's really just a self-insert. She doesn't have that much of a personality. What is your favorite anime couple? Ooh, that's actually a tough one. There's probably a lot of good ones that I'm not gonna say because I haven't missed. I know a lot of people I know personally, like their favorite anime couple is the Nodame Cantabile. Oh god, I probably butchered that pronunciation. Main characters. I still need to watch that show. All 3 seasons of it, geez. But a lot of people say those are their favorite characters. I haven't generally watched that many. I kind of have 2 different answers for this, even though technically one is an answer to a different kind of question in a way. My favorite romantic anime, even though it's a romantic comedy, is Toradora. I've said this before, and I'm going to make a video eventually saying why. Maybe it'll be... No, it won't be my next video. Maybe it'll be the 3rd one I make, because I have like 2 coming up pretty quickly. Maybe it'll be the first scripted video when I come back to it, even though it'll take me forever to write it. But that's my favorite romance. But as far as my favorite anime couple, it's hard to decide. I mean, obviously I can go with Shakugan and Shana, and I can go with Shana and Yuji, because I like them. But I generally like them as characters, especially in the 3rd season where they basically literally became ideals. It's hard to say. I liked the ending scene with them and all that jazz, but they were essentially ideals for most of the season. So I can't really say that. I think as far as literally a couple goes, my favorite couple is Kujo and Victorique from Gossick. Please don't tell me it's pronounced Gosick. It's Gossick. It's a play on the word Gothic. Yeah, and I think they're my favorite couple because that's what the show is built up around. A lot of people didn't like Gossick because they thought it was, like, really stupid mysteries and stuff, but people don't understand that Eastern mysteries and Western mysteries are different. Western mysteries was built upon the Sherlock Holmes style of mysteries, where it's built up where the audience can kind of figure out the answer to the whodunit, before everything figures out. There's a huge emphasis placed on whodunit, like, the big question is who did it, and you can generally figure it out. The thing with Japanese mysteries, or just Eastern in general, is it doesn't have a huge emphasis on the whodunit. The bigger emphasis is the why done it, the why it was done, and the social implications and the character motivations, and that's what's more important. Which is why generally with Eastern mysteries you'll have characters basically confessing that they did something, but the question of why they did it is harder to come out from them and figure out, because generally the deal with the Easter mysteries is the mysteries are basically just a framing device. The mysteries are just there as something interesting to see when it's actually giving some kind of message about society or the characters themselves. And which is basically what Gossick did. Gossick was a bunch of mystery stories, but it wasn't really... The mysteries themselves weren't what was important. What was important is that all the mysteries built on Kujo and Victoria's relationship and the characters themselves. If you notice with each mystery, it's actually building those characters, which a lot of people didn't get, which is why they didn't like the show. But basically, the entire show built them up as, as their friendship and then eventually their feelings for each other. So I guess that would be why they're my favorite couple, because the show actually cleverly built them up as, this tight-knit, 2 characters going through all these struggles together and growth through the mysteries. So that's why they're my favorite couple. Do you like the good girl, bad boy pairings? Again, that's just kind of a trope. It can be used badly, it can be used well. Generally, for the most part, I don't, because generally those are the pairings that come out with shoujo, and it's kind of like the, general, and it's not so much the good girl, bad boy character, so much as the, like, offensively no personality female character and the criminal boy. I'm sorry, but that's generally how shoujo and otome bad boy characters actually are. So for the most common interpretation, I don't really care for it. I don't really like it. I think it's pretty dumb. I think it's liking a character based on the type of personality rather than personality itself. Because the thing is, it really simplifies the personality. Calling someone a bad boy doesn't really say a whole lot, because there's so many different ways that characters act with that label that it really isn't. It doesn't really work as a label. It is a label, but it really simplifies a character, because there's so many different characters that they're classified as bad boys, and they all act very differently. So, in a general sense, no, I do not like the pairing. But can it be used well? Yes, it can. It certainly can. But next question. Have you watched Baccano? And if yes, what is your opinion of it? I have watched Baccano, and it is a great show. I can understand why people wouldn't like it, especially because half the people I recommend it to watch it when they're about to go to sleep, which is the dumbest thing ever. When you have a story that is dealing with 3 different timelines and it's interchangeable between them, not the best time to watch it. But it's a great show. I can see where it kind of has fault. It's really well at building characters, which is what I like most about it. It builds these very distinct characters, and it does it very well, and that's why I like it. The general storyline itself is only really good because it's non-linear, but I guess in the fact that it was able to tell it well non-linearly is impressive. So I like it for that. But yeah, Baccano's a pretty sweet show. I would recommend watching it if any of you haven't. That'll be something good to watch. It's also horrendously violent. Like, I remember once when I recommended to someone, I'm like, oh yeah, it's got some violence in it, and then I rewatched it and I was like, wow, this is a lot more violence than I remember there being in it. When you're actually noticing it, there's actually quite a bit of violence. Anyways, anime character you wish was real. Someone else also asked this question in a way, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So, because I can't remember if they've actually asked this question, or if it's just my head playing with me. The character I want to be real is Kamsin. Kamsin. God, it's hard to pronounce his name. Kamsin from Shakugan no Shana. And he's basically the old sage kind of character from the show. And I like that kind of character. That's the character personality that I like the most. The kind of like old wise character. Those are my coolest guys. And I guess it's just my interest in philosophy. But I like the old sagey characters the most. They're always super awesome. Did I really just say super awesome? I'm sorry. They're just awesome. Alright, next question. Do you have a My Anime List account? Yes, I do. It's how I keep track of my 200 shows that I've watched. I may link it. I may not. If I do eventually link it, keep in mind that when I used to do ratings for shows, it's not necessarily reflective of my opinions today, because obviously I've gotten more critical of what I like over time. Because when I first started watching stuff, I was just like, yay, things to entertain me. And I was very easily entertained, because I was like a high school kid and I had nothing to do other than video games. So I was like, finally, something I can do. So it was easy to be entertained. And now I actually kind of have standards. so a lot of my ratings that from back in the day I wouldn't agree with. And then also nowadays I don't rate shows at all, because I think giving them a number is just really simplifying something, which is why, if you've noticed in my reviews, I don't give a number rating, because what's more important is my points that I'm making rather than a number. Because if someone watches a rating of a show and they see a 6 out of 10 or something, and they're like, oh, I guess I can skip it then, a 6 out of 10 is not that great. And, they're not keeping in mind the actual critiques of a show, because as I've said, you can disagree with me, because, as I've said, there are faults that'll irritate me more than other people, and I can understand this, which is why when people have different opinions and they state so, why they like something, I don't hate them for it. I may argue with them about it, because I like to argue about things, but I don't hate you for having a different opinion. Which is why it's more important to listen to the actual points of a review. Because if I'm saying something in a review and I'm saying, I don't like that it did this, and you think, wait, I don't really care that much that it did this, then you might like the show more than me. I guess a very simplistic example would be Sword Art Online. Like, I thought the second arc was offensive to humanity in how stupid the writing was. But if you're someone who was just there for the MMO setting and didn't really care about the writing in general, then, you know, that you could enjoy it more. You know, that's how it goes. You know, like people will have that, and that's how you can have kind of an, like, I don't want to say objective, but that's kind of how you can have objective complaints towards a show as far as writing goes and still have different opinions. Because while something being written badly isn't necessarily something you can argue with, like character not having a personality, you can't really say that's a good thing. You can say that it doesn't bother you that much. And that's generally how it works. Different people have different standards for different factors. You know, like, if something doesn't bother you as much in a show, then that's, you know, that's just how it goes. And I've said this multiple times, but I'm trying to drill it into your guys' heads. If there's anything I teach you, it is this. You can rate something objectively as far as the writing goes and still have different opinions because of these different factors and how much you care about each one. So if there's anything you learn from this Q&A other than me answering these questions, it is that. And trust me, I'll find another chance to say it again by the end of this Q&A, I bet. Oh, well, I was answering if I had a Mal account. Yes, I have a MyAnimalist account. I may link it. I already said before, keep in mind, if I do link it, my ratings may not reflect my current standings on a show nowadays. So there's that. What are some other anime that you don't particularly like? My examples, Clannad and Tonari. Funny story before I actually answer this, and this won't actually be long, I swear to God. Someone actually commented on my Clannad video about how they didn't really agree with me about, you know, disliking it that much. They're like, oh, you know, you're kind of blowing things out of proportion. And like I said before, that's fine if they don't agree with my complaints. But then they sent me a message telling me about shows I should watch as far as recommendation, which is hilarious. If someone doesn't like a show and you're like, oh, your complaints are so overblown about this, and then you send them, you give them like recommendations of shows with a similar feel, that's not the best thing to do, because if someone doesn't like that kind of style of show and you're like, oh no, you're wrong, you like this style of show, you just don't get it yet. That's like one of the most offensive things you could say to someone. It's like, excuse me? I'm pretty sure I know my own opinions. But funnily enough, he sent me a request, and the first 3 recommendations he gave me were other Key shows, when in most of my Clannad review, I commented on how I didn't like Key's writing. So it was like, why are you recommending me Key shows when in my review I said I don't like them? That was kind of funny.